So my conversation with Ben Levin from last week went a little longer than I thought. The point of these conversations, again, is to see how musicians have dealt, are dealing, or will deal with COVID, and hopefully how that information can help you. During my conversation with Ben, however, we got into a lot of other topics that I thought were really interesting and that I thought would be really important to share. So here's the rest of my conversation with Ben Levin. We both got told in undergrad, be versatile, and the age of being good at guitar is over and you're going to have to do a lot of different things. And then I see some social media guitar players be basically just good at guitar and maybe recording it, and doing great. And I see some people who do like 10 different things, and I see people do like, I knew, especially during undergrad, you and I, that's our whole being was guitar. Mm-hmm. And we're almost building our self-worth by every week, what information we could assimilate, how good could we get, how fast could we play, how blah, 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 how many albums we could put out. Yeah. This is very tied to self-worth. Yeah. How has that changed for you over the decade?
Yeah.
Since undergrad?
I've definitely shifted my self-worth to my storytelling and songwriting. Well, I don't know if I've shifted it there. That's definitely where my priority has gone. I think self-worth has become much more... I think my self-worth is a little bit more fleshed out, where it's not just about one thing. And now I'm like a little bit... I think I'm a little more mature and stronger than pinning it all on one thing. Definitely there are the forces that pull me in the bad directions, like with the views and stuff. But sure. But now playing guitar well is only exciting when I have a project that involves guitar. Otherwise, it's all about playing guitar to hear music come out and improvise, and it's much more of a relaxing thing than I don't really practice like a practicer anymore. I just have a project or I don't. But I practice other things. I watch a lot of tutorials on animation or on anything that pertains to whatever project. So I'm still learning a lot. But yeah, over 10 years, the idea of just focusing on guitar has become sort of a joke. It's sort of something that's funny to think about. And I think the really successful guitarists who are filming Instagram videos of them playing guitar really well, and people are just oh my God. I think that's super legit and cool, but it also sounds for me and my taste, sounds like torture, because I don't like sports, and I never have liked sports, and I don't feel a competitive sportsmanship thing. And I think that when you're talking 1-minute videos that are kind of a thesis on here's this technique and it's cool, and at its best it's it sounds really good for a minute. At its worst, it's just so you know, I really am good at guitar, just so you know. And it's a whole minute of that, or 30 seconds or 10 seconds or just 1 second. But that stuff to me is sort of what I get out of it is I go, whoa. You know what I mean? And sometimes I feel like flipping through Instagram or flipping through social is a lot. It reminds me of a slot machine. And instead of putting money in, you're just putting time in, and you're just I hope I get a match, Tinder. I hope that there's something that pops that feeling into my head, and then sometimes those guitarists are the thing, and sometimes cam models are the thing, and sometimes animation and cartoons. You know what I mean? It's I don't think it's a music specific magic that they're necessarily pulling out, which doesn't make it bad, but it's not really what I'm after. I'm really looking for music to enlighten my ass. I don't know. I feels really weighty. Music feels really important to me. and I'm not saying it's not important to them. I'm not even trying to criticize them. It's just like I don't know. It just doesn't hit me. It doesn't gel.
Well, it's just not for you. Some people it probably like fuels their whole day, and for you it might not.
I remember crying on the couch listening to Jason Becker. I remember hearing Shred that made me cry and made me like be like human potential is amazing, and all we have to do is make sound with it, and
yeah,
that's good shit.
Yeah, I guess I will say at some point after so many 1 minute videos, there is a part of me, and maybe it's because my age, that I'm like, this would be cool in a song. Like, I would love to hear this guitarist in the band that they may or may not be in.
I like Polyphia for that.
Sure. Like, like when you can get a whole musical experience basically out of it, and a whole identity out of it. I actually, because I'm mildly guilty of just posting stuff, but I generally posted it for people. Like, I would see, like, there was a difference between someone who just posted it for like holy shit factor, and then there was the people, I think maybe like, I assume Mark Lettieri would be, where he's like, isn't guitar neat? This is what I did today. And so that would be like, at least how I live with posting is like, I like practicing still. It's like not something anyone I know personally in my like close circle is going to be like, tell me more about Half Whole Diminished. So I have to put it on the internet. If anyone who cares about Half Whole Diminished is going to respond to it, it's not going to be, I'll
that's
have to
a really
cast the
good
net a
point.
little wider.
That's a great point, is that people feel connected to the act of practice and are excited about discovery, and sometimes you're just documenting that, and that's true. I'm not giving enough credit to that, and I do that too, posting like, oh, that's a cool thing, I'd better film it so I don't forget it, and I'd better post it so that I don't delete it off my phone, and also I can get compliments. But like that's a really good point about what, like, practicing for reasons besides the athletic component, but practicing because of the fun and excitement of learning. I shouldn't shit on that too much.
And then I basically get to share that, which is basically, when you would play a show, I'm sure when you wrote the song, you were like, oh, this is so cool. And there is probably a part of you that's like, and I bet everyone's going to think this is cool. And then, you're not getting on stage for some horribly shallow reason only. You are hoping that people like you, but it also is like, people want to see this. People like, this could be interesting. All right. So yeah, identity shifted a little bit. And what would you say to someone who's like, if anything, if not just like, to someone who like graduated in May?
Oh yeah. You graduated. Yeah, you're lucky. You got normal college until you graduated.
Until the last like 2 months, but yeah.
Yeah, except the last 2 months. Graduating and getting my degree and stuff weren't the most precious special parts of Berkeley. It was probably the first half, which was the most Berkeley half, and the second half was the most me and Jessica half. And so like Berkeley started to fade out of it as Jessica became more of my like source of fulfillment. And the first half with it being all Berkeley, that was epic. That was so cool. I loved it. I had such good memories. We had a great time.
Yeah.
We went to pizza. We had fun. I wasn't even vegan yet. I was having fun. I was living the good life. No, but it was like it was great. And so yeah, to the people who graduated in May, it's like, you're lucky. I feel for the people who are starting now, I mean, I can't imagine recommending anyone pay full price for not going there college, and I would consider like going about your life in some other way, maybe. I don't know though. If I were to think about like a semester of Berkeley's cost and which private teachers you could get on Skype with that money, like with that money you could probably it doesn't matter really how famous the person is. You could probably, if they're willing to do a lesson for money, you could probably afford them on a weekly basis for the cost. I mean, I don't know, like, how you, I just think, like, if we're talking like for a year, we're talking like 50 grand. I mean, you could probably spend, if your teacher was $200 an hour and you took a lesson every week for a year, which would be, yeah, that'd be the 50 grand period. So, okay, 200 an hour once a week for 50, that's about 50 times 200. So that's about 10,000, right? So you could probably spend $10,000 to have weekly lessons with a very expensive teacher who's probably like someone you actually follow, and not necessarily better at teaching because the rate is higher, but like, you know, it'd be whatever your wet dream of a teacher would be. And then you'd have time throughout the week to actually work on the concepts. And with that remaining $40,000, you know, you can hire musicians to play on your recordings, because you're definitely not going to be able to go hang out with your friends and have them do it. I mean, you can hire your friends. You can hire whoever you want, but you can get recordings made. There are studios that are open that have social distance policies that are good, and you can go to one. I mean, there's so much you can do with money that's educational and amazing. I guess the thing that's missing is the structure, which is why you need that private teacher. But if you hired someone $200 an hour for a week and you were like, hey, I really need you to give me structure for my life, they'd be happy to do it. I don't know anyone who's like bummed about $200 for an hour. That's insane.
No.
So anyway, I'm just saying, those people I would recommend trying to maybe find a different path right now. But
well, especially if you're going into undergrad, it'd be like, hey, really get your gen eds out of the way.
Yeah. If you're, because at some point college is going to be normal again, and you're not going to want to be taking English composition too when you want to be like a jazz guitarist or something. But
no. Oh, yeah.
If people are like getting out of school right now though, and like trying to figure out a music career, that's interesting, because I don't think they are in much different of a situation than we were when we first got out, because you don't really have much established. So it's a lot about building up like your digital business card anyway. I mean, at least I think you took a different path from me, because you were actually playing in cover band and then you moved to New York. So like playing in the cover band was a very different thing, because you're already in the idea of, okay, I'm going to perform for money and do weddings and stuff. Whereas for me, I think like I just had the wrong hair for that, you know, like back then, and my glasses were broken.
And I have the right hair.
You do, yeah, because you don't look like you got an opiate addiction. No offense to people who do, but like that's what people thought I looked like. And you know, like I don't think I was very hireable because I didn't have clean clothes. These are things that, you know, seem like easy to change, but if you've gone your whole life being really messy, it's hard. So I wasn't going to be in a wedding band, you know, no one would like, that wasn't going to happen, because
you never know. Someone would have just said, hey, could you put your hair back? All right, yeah, you're fine.
I had a regular gig with my friend who would always be like, we need to look expensive for this gig, because we'd be playing at like fancy events, and he would get so disappointed at my socks and so disappointed at the shoes I wore. And like every time I saw him, the first thing he'd say would be about, like whenever we were at the gig, would be about like my beard or my glasses or my socks or my shirt or something's wrinkled. And he was right. Like I never looked expensive enough for the gig. He was right. But yeah, you look so expensive, and oh my God, Elliott, you're the most expensive looking guy.
I moved to New York though to like pursue original projects, and then this was this cool way. I just did the cover band because I wanted to play a bunch of gigs. It was the only way I knew, more than original band especially, that I could play every week. Like I would hear stories of people who started playing guitar in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, who'd be like, and then they joined a band at 15 and they were playing 9 days a week, and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, there's no avenue for me to do that unless I join a cover band.
Right.
And I don't give a shit what I'm playing as long as I'm in front of people experiencing all the issues of live sound, of tone,
Yeah.
of I get to turn up, of I have to learn a lot of material, so I'm not like in that kind of school thing where you know a lot of theories behind stuff and you might be an interesting soloist, best case scenario, but you know no songs.
Right.
Like
That's still
so
me. I never learned songs.
Well, you know a lot now because you have like a million albums under your name. So
I can't play any of that stuff. Though I can play Bentley's like latest 10 songs.